Hey, welcome into the next edition of All Genre Music Fest. I am Projo, joined by Steel Friars, Ronice, Pirlo Wisdom, and we are going to get into some of our favorite albums of all time and break them down for you. And please put in the comment sections what some of your favorite albums of all time are, so then maybe we can talk about those in the future as well, especially on the All Genre Music Fest Facebook. Please put in the comments what you want us to talk about in the future. But how is everyone doing this evening?
Oh man, I'll tell you what, it's a Friday night and
It's
Saturday.
Saturday night.
I'm sorry, it's a Saturday night and yeah, maybe I've had a little too much music. Other than that, I'm doing great.
What about you, Pirlo?
Oh, dude, pretty awesome, man. Just I love talking about music, so I'm pretty excited to get into this.
Well, because I think we should give it off to Ronice first because she's our first timer on the podcast, wasn't able to join us the first time around. I think we should hand it off to her first on what her favorite album is, the first one we talk about. So if you have that one pulled up. If you don't, I can go to someone else, but I was just going to hand it to you first because it is your first time on as one of our regular hosts.
Okay, well, thank you. I'm glad I could be here tonight. It's hard to pick a favorite album because I've been listening to music since, I was this big, But I think I'm going to go with what my favorite album is right now. And I classify it as my favorite because it's something I can listen to without actually having to listen to it. Does that make sense? Like you put it on and it's just like
in the background while you're doing other stuff.
Yeah, and it's like kind of like putting on like a really warm sweater and it's just there and it's, So right now, one of my favorites is The Who, I think it's Gergi, I can't pronounce it, I'm sorry. The Mongolian metal band. I know it sounds odd, but it's just a really neat album of something completely different. And I love listening to it. And I'm going to go see them this year.
Nice.
Yeah, they're actually touring with another like group of favorite bands. They're touring with Megadeth and Five Finger Death Punch.
Sweet.
Yeah, it's actually going to be a pretty nice little. I think Lamb of God is also going to be there, and I think of Megadeth, and then that Who group, and then obviously Five Finger Death Punch, and that's coming in, I believe, September.
What was the full name of that Who group though? Because I'll have to check it out because I haven't heard of that album.
It's just H. If you type in HU.
Oh, Hugh. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Now you know what we're talking about.
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, and they've done a couple of not cover. I guess you would call it a cover of their song with like an American artist. So Jacoby Shaddix does one of them called Wolf Totem. So you get the Mongolian music and the Mongolian band, but you also get an English translation of what the lyrics are.
Because on the album,
that's pretty cool.
Right, because on the album it's all just straight Mongolian. Right, like they sing it in their native, language or whatever, so there's no English.
Granted, I'm not gonna lie, if there's good grooves to music, I don't really have to know what the heck they're saying some of the time.
I don't either. Yeah,
there's just go back, and because like sometimes when I scroll through the radio, it'll come up with other language stations, and I'll be like, oh, this song actually is pretty good. I just have no idea what the singer's saying.
And I think sometimes that's really cool because you get the emotion of the music and the lyrics, and you don't have to for Steele and I have had this conversation many times. When I listen to a song, I want to know what the lyrics are about. I want to know what the artist is trying to tell me or how I'm supposed to interpret it. He listens for the music. He likes the music. He likes the
harmony, the melodies,
everything. He could care less what the lyrics are.
Yeah,
But anyway, but that's why I like the Who, because I can tell what they're trying to say without them saying it in English.
Yeah, that makes sense, because that's pretty cool when you can just feel the music like that. Like, for example, like gotta like when in like having a fun night and everything, like, and even just listening and wanting to like dance and get to the groove, like I think Spanish music's perfect for that, and I have no idea what they're saying.
Yeah.
Okay,
So,
there you go. And being out on the islands and listening to calypso, okay, is their type of music that they listen to. That's also the type of language that they speak to. You know what I mean? But even that music is very like festive and upbeat and just stuff that you don't necessarily know what they're saying, but you can just kind of jam to it. You know what I mean? Like there's a lot of like steel drums and that kind of stuff, and
yeah,
it's all good. I mean, island music, man.
if there's the cool guitar, like the cool bass, the cool drums, or like anything extra, like the reason I like this one more underground rock band, Yellow Card, when they were still around, was they had a violin in their rock band. That was unique to a rock band to have a violin in your rock band, so it stood out to me. So like stuff like that, I always find cool when there's unique traits to obviously the type of music that they're playing.
Yeah.
But I think now we can hand it over to Pirlo. Pirlo, what's one of your, and we'll let everybody say at least two in this episode, but what's one of your favorite albums you want to bring up for this?
We got to do way more than two, but oh my gosh, I couldn't even. Well,
Narrow it down.
Which one am I going to choose here? I'll say the one album that, like, I'll stick with what I said the last time. It's just albums that absolutely hit me, and I kind of just fell in love with it for a long period of time, like that short, amazing romance albums. You know what I mean? And the first one that popped in my mind is when you said it is usually the right one, but Pearl Jam 10.
Oh yeah.
That when I first heard that album and the time of my life and everything that happened, I just absolutely delved into that deeply, deeply, deeply for months and months. Love that album. That would be my first.
Wow, that's a great choice, bro.
Yeah. Yeah, Alive and Rearview Mirror. Rearview Mirror, I think still to this day, it ended up being my favorite.
Black is on that album too.
Black.
Jeremy's also on there. That's
Jeremy.
Yeah. I think every single one of us, every single one of us here can relate to that album.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? In some way, shape, form, or another.
Well, Pearl Jam transcends time. Like when you're in the rock, well, most bands in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame obviously transcend time for people that are really into that type of music. But Pearl Jam's a clear cut one of those groups that like me as much as people like. And basically everybody in every generation knows Pearl Jam for the most part if you're into that scene.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just that album took me for a ride. Like it came out of a time. I mean, Nirvana, of course. I mean, Nirvana was amazing too, and that album, all their albums were fantastic. But there is something about that album that kind of it bridged the gap between the 80s and the 90s in a way that was very relatable to just about like Steele, what you're saying to everyone at the time, like that's, it was very relatable. It was a very relatable album.
Because everybody can relate to any one of those particular songs, or anybody can relate to, a group of the songs or the story of the album. Do you know? There's right.
I mean, Jeremy was like, there was a lot of things a lot of things happening like that at the time. It was in your face, but in a way where everybody went like, you know what, that needed to be in my face, actually.
Yeah, that's a good way to say that one, Perlo. That even though it was grunge, even though it was kind of part of that new wave kind of genre of music and everything, it was very much in your face that stuff like that needed to be said, and some of that information needed to be brought to light. You know what I mean? Because of what that album did, not just for that genre, but for people in general.
Yeah. Yeah. It's, yeah, but yeah, I remember the first time I heard, I believe it was Jeremy, and it was in video. Remember, like I still love
yeah.
Oh yeah,
I
that
still
video
love video.
was.
Yeah. That
Yeah,
video
that
was
video.
amazing, right? I mean, it was, yeah, Ronnie, sorry to jump on you there. What were you going to say?
Oh, I'm sorry, I interrupted you, but I was gonna say Jeremy is what actually brought me into the grunge music scene, because before that I was, hair bands and 80s bands and whatever, but when I saw Jeremy and that song, it was so, I don't know, there was like, it was raw,
Yeah.
So.
And Eddie Vedder.
Yeah.
I mean, we even talked about this on the last show with his voice. You know what I mean? Just the whole way that, Jeremy is spoken. I mean, just the whole way that he just rolled that song was just, what? Okay,
Yeah, he has a voice that cuts through definitely a way.
That's a good way to say it. Yes, that's the perfect way to say that. My favorite song on that whole album is Black.
Yeah.
And
that was amazing song too. Yeah.
It's not.
I feel like that album is one of the rare albums, because there's usually an album that even if the album's great, there's one song on you like, okay, that song was okay, that song wasn't great, like it was all right. I feel like that's one of the rare albums, Pearl Jam, that has every song that you're like, oh, that was But
Sorry, go ahead.
No, it's just Ocean's Porch Garden, like all of it. Every single one of them was just a masterpiece. It was all just so beautiful. And like you said, Ronnie, for coming out of the time, and I have nothing against hair bands. They had their place or whatever, and they did their thing. But it was all kind of bubblegum. And then Pearl Jam came in and said, yeah, let's not do the bubblegum now. And in a way that was just like you said, it just popped right at you. But they did it in such a way where people weren't even offended by it at the time. Like it was, like I said, like, okay, you know what? I actually think we really do need to hear this right now.
Wow, that's really cool, man. What a great album to select as a favorite album. I mean, gosh, there's umpteen million albums that you could select from that we've all heard and listened and exposed to, and of all those umpteen million albums, you know what I mean? Like that's the one you pick,
That's just the one that came to my head. I don't even know what's my best, but that's the one that really hit me.
Yeah,
I'm sure we'll get more than.
So, what do you got? What do you got there, Joe? Though, what's your one that comes to first?
Well, because my mind doesn't shut the heck up after the time, about 17 different albums came to me first, so I just had to pick one. So I'll go with Super Unknown by Soundgarden, which obviously Earlobe Lights as well.
That's such a good album.
Let Me Drown, My Wave, Fell on Black Days, The Day I Tried to Live. Like that just has a lot of songs, and that album came out before I was born, but when I first listened to it at a fairly young age, like it had a lot of songs that just hit with you. And then especially when I was going through hard times, it definitely had a lot of songs that just hit with you, similar to what Pirlo was saying about 10. I think that was just an album that, how people say music is therapeutic, that was definitely one of those things for me. So that's why in between the 86 million things in my head, I have to go with this one, because that's definitely one of those things that just helped me get through stuff. There's a couple other albums like that I'll mention in this podcast as well, but that is a surefire one for me. That's one of those other rare albums for me.
All the songs on that one.
All the songs on that album are good as well, where maybe it's not, maybe with this podcast we'll find out that's not as rare as I think, but like there isn't a lot of albums, let's put it as much nowadays, that have every single song is good, even from bands I like. They have a lot of songs that are good, but not everyone, and that's definitely one of them. And Soundgarden was a killer group. Chris Cornell was, of course, one of the many rock legends that was gone too soon, rest in peace, but he was killer with not just Soundgarden, but Audioslave and all those other groups as well.
Yeah. I really miss him. I really loved his voice. I really miss. I wish we could still have that. Hey, he's coming out with something new. But
Yeah, and then Chris Cornell, the person that sang at his funeral, Alleluia, a cover of Alleluia, was none other than another person we lost too soon, Chester Bennington of Linkin
Right.
Park. So there's a weird connection there because both of those guys were so close, and I'm sure that didn't help with the fact that Chester was going through a lot at that time as well.
Yeah, man. There you go.
That whole situation it's so sad, and it's, I don't know, maybe something good can come out of it with suicide prevention, but I'll stop now.
The Day I Tried to Live was my favorite song on that album.
Yeah, it's a killer song. Even Kickstand, who's a lesser known song, was good. Like obviously the super unknown song, the album song was also good. One of my favorite though was Fell on Black Days, and then Let Me Drown to me was just one of the first songs I heard that just starts really like not chill but more chill, and then just goes into it, and I'm like, oh my god, this is like that. Like that's one of the first types of songs like that I listened to that really got me into that type of music.
You know what another great thing about that album was? It's one of the last albums. Well, I guess there's probably a lot of albums that still do it, but it's one of the 16 songs.
Yeah, like you don't see that anymore.
No,
No,
like,
you only see some
12, 13.
do that.
maybe even 8. Like there's a
edition,
lot of bands only doing 8 now.
Yeah, then the deluxe edition had like 32 different tracks because it had instrumentals and like remixes to the songs and acoustic like the demo versions that they put on there for people. So like they had two versions of that album, that which rightfully so, because you should do that if it's one of the best albums of that era and of that style of music. Just like Pirlo mentioned with Pearl Jam's 10, both of these albums were some of the best of grunge for sure.
For sure, though, man. But I like the choices so far. We've got Pearl Jam's 10. We got the Who, Mongolian group. We got Soundgarden.
Super Unknown.
Super Unknown.
The Who Magnolia group was the Greg, I guess is how you pronounce that.
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go. That's cool. I mean, that's pretty interesting music, but I mean, quite an eclectic
mix.
You know what I mean?
What about you, Steele? You're the one that hasn't revealed one of your favorite albums yet.
Okay, well, since everybody's kind of reaching back into an album that, I mean, everybody's picked an album that, you know, is a favorite for whatever reason, and I'm going to kind of go with what Pirlo did, and an album that really affected me was, and I'm really going to go way different, completely whole. I'm going to go Pink Floyd's Wish You Were Here.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Oh, my God. Great album. Great choice.
Yeah.
Okay, so that album, and then I would actually have to couple that album with Dark Side of the Moon.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like, I can't not mention those two albums at the same time. Does that make sense? Right?
Yeah.
Well, Pink Floyd's Wish You Were Here was the opposite of one of the things Pirlo was talking about. That was a great short and sweet album compared to the more extended albums. But that's also awesome, though, because sometimes it's great to have that perfect short and sweet. Like, you can go on a 45-ish minute walk, and you listen to that whole album, and you're like, well, that was a killer album to listen to. And it's perfect for those types of things.
Exactly. And every single song on that album is just utterly amazing.
Yeah.
Okay, there isn't a single song on that album that doesn't come on the radio right now to this day that we all don't, you know, tap our foot to or know, or you understand what I'm trying to tell you, right?
One of those songs that when you're like, you can just barely hear it, you know, the tune, but you know what song that is because it's Pink Floyd. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, that album had the all-time two transcending. I mean, there was just so many songs on that album that, I mean, even just Wish You Were Here and then Shine On You Crazy Diamond. You know what I mean? Like, but the artistry of the album itself, the album covers, do you know what I mean? Like the sleeves, the jackets, all that crazy stuff. That to me is when albums were albums, you know, and that's why I think the Pink Floyd Wish You Were Here. I've
it was
seen
cool the beginning and end of that album too, which you were hinting at too, because it finished with the beginning parts of, as you said, Shine On You Crazy Diamond, and then it ended with the end part. So it was cool how you had a like intro and then an outro basically, and then you had the middle 3 songs of the album. That was kind of a different dynamic than you see in a lot of different albums. So that was also, as I was talking about, I like uniqueness. That was definitely unique.
One of the songs on that album, and this is why this album is my favorite, is Welcome to the Machine.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And to me, that song, I don't care where I'm at, what I'm doing. If that song comes on, I stop, turn it up, pause, rewind, whatever, so I can hear that full song. Because that, to me, that song just is the epitome of Pink Floyd, and one of my all-time favorite songs, and on one of my all-time favorite albums. So there's one of my all-time favorite albums is Pink Floyd, Wish You Were Here.
You also mentioned Dark Side of the Moon, which obviously is one of the best albums to many people of all time. So.
I've seen Pink Floyd twice live. Okay. I seen them once for the Momentary Lapse of Reason tour. And then they did another tour where they did when they released the Pulse album. They did a live tour for that. So I saw that one. Okay. And both tours, Roger Waters was neither part of the group at all. Was not part of the group at all at that point. Roger Waters was not part of the group of Pink Floyd. So
okay,
you got sort of Pink Floyd.
Yeah, 89% of Pink Floyd. You know, without
most
Roger
of them. Yeah,
you know, I mean, Roger Waters contributed. Basically, he was the Final Cut, and The Wall was his contribution to Pink Floyd. He did a lot of the he did a lot of the music contributions, but those were his contributions to the band. Was the Final Cut that was dedicated to his dad, and then The Wall was obviously mostly all Roger Waters doing that for the writing and stuff like that. So either way, Pink Floyd, I don't care what you say, Pink Floyd, hands down, one of the all-time favorite groups, bands ever. So that's my favorite album right there.
Okay, yeah, it's definitely a good one. Wish You Were Here and Dark Side of the Moon, both great ones. Definitely, for sure. So to recap, we have 10 by Pearl Jam. That Pearl of Wisdom also picked. Definitely goes with the name as well. Just picked up on that one. And then
right.
Ronice picked the Gareg from The Hue, who I'm definitely going to check out based off of her description, because it sounds like someone I would enjoy as well. I picked Super Unknown by Soundgarden. Steel jumped ahead and picked 2 albums, Dark Side of the Moon and Wish You Were Here by Pink Floyd. But we can go to Pirlo, back to Pirlo this time as we'll switch up the order. And you can go with who your second album is that you want to mention on this one.
Well, I'm going to try to go new. I'm going to try to do some, like, that was sort of middle, like 90s. I guess that's old now. But I'm going to try to go with a new one because I got so many that I could do. So I'm going to try to do new, and then maybe my next one will be like older. But I don't know if you guys are into this guy at all or not, but to me, he's the David Bowie of our generation. And he never gets, and he doesn't get as much accolades because there's so many other great artists out there. But it would be Beck, Colors.
Oh, okay.
Have you ever heard that album?
Never heard the whole album. I know a couple of his songs, but not.
That's he came out in 2017, and it did the same sort of thing to me that Pearl Jam 10 did. I just absolutely fell in love with it. And to me, I think if you talk about back to that generation or this generation 50 years from now, that he's going to have the same. People will say he had the same effect. But the thing is just like when Pearl Jam came out, music wasn't as eclectic as it is today. Like it's very seldom are bands going to be able to be heard by the masses like Pearl Jam was and guys like that at that time. And also Beck didn't make stuff that was made for radio. So
that's true.
He actually became what he became by just being pure genius. Well, his father was also brilliant too, right? Jeff Beck. So
yeah.
And he's just every album is amazing to me. Like all of them were amazing, but this one, like Wow and Dreams, every song is like its own palette, different than the other. That's what I love about Beck. It's you can listen to to 3 or 4 different Beck songs, and you might not even realize that it was Beck. Like if you didn't know it was the same artist, and that's why I love him. And this album did that more than I think any album I've ever heard. So I fell in love with it, and so that's my favorite that's my favorite albums of the newish generation, 2017.
Yeah,
it's quite a while.
Yeah, that's still pretty new. That's one I don't personally know. I've only listened to a couple Beck songs via like streaming radio of Pandora, and because he's not on regular radio, but streaming radio and iHeart when I use that as well. Because of the stations I have on there, his songs will come on, and I would like the songs that came on, but I never really listened to one of his full albums through, so I'll have to check that one out.
Yeah, I'd recommend it to anyone now.
And it would also be cool if we did check out some of the albums. Obviously, a lot of the albums that we mentioned on here, most of us knew, but if we did check out, like I'll check out that one from Pirlo, and then we can check out the one from The Hue, and then on the next podcast, we can also talk about what all of our thoughts are too as well, and that's kind of a cool continuous thing to engage.
Oh yeah, there you go. That's a good
idea. Hue, by the way, is one of those bands too that has taken music to levels that are universally known to be beyond. It's incredible. Like
okay, so like I'll give you guys many years ago, Metallica.
Oh shoot! Yeah,
had the California Symphony Orchestra or the San Francisco Symphony Orchestra?
Oh yeah.
Did the Black Album or something, right?
Oh yeah. Oh man, Metallica for sure. Same thing.
You know what I mean? So yeah.
I think it was it Ride the Lightning? I think it was Ride the Lightning is the one that first blew me out of the water.
Dude, I'm here to tell you, man, Metallica, that album itself, actually it's For Whom the Bell Tolls.
Oh, okay.
But either way though,
it's also a kick behind since I don't want to say the other one necessarily. Rock album name. So like that's a like For Whom the Bell Tolls, like that just sounds like something you would be like, yeah, I just want to check that out to see what it sounds like.
That song off of Ride the Lightning is the one that you like the most? Okay.
Yes. That song is like an anthem. Man, that was actually the first song I actually learned to play on the drums.
Oh, okay.
And I don't know, but if you ever listen to that song, man, there is a lot of double bass in that, and it was the only song I could ever play, and that was it. You know, I don't have any talents to play, and I was just the drum tech then after that. You know.
Somebody gave me that album. It was a friend of mine, Richard. He was a huge AC/DC fan. I know that. Anyways, he gave me that album to listen to, and I was just like, Yeah, I fell in love instantly. I was blown away. I couldn't believe it. Like, yeah, I was sort of in the tense sort of thing where you just
Right.
just hits every nerve, every pleasure nerve of your body. Like,
There you go.
oh. And then I got into the rest of them. Master of Puppets.
Oh man.
I mean, that was an amazing album.
That corrupted you right there, right? See.
Yeah.
Right.
Anyways,
your album, your second album is
Colors.
Mine was
Colors by Beck.
Colors
Okay.
by Beck, yeah.
Okay, and so now
Also, by mentioning Metallica, though, before you go on, one of the songs that always resonated with me with Metallica, because baseball is one of my top favorite sports, second to hockey, was Enter the Sandman, because it was the walk-in song for one of the, or potentially the best closer of all time, but definitely one of the best closers of all time, and Mariano Rivera. So I just resonate that song with one of the best of all time in the sport. So
I'm with you.
That was always a cool song for me.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I mean, I was this close to picking it. So Joe, what would be your like second choice?
Yeah, that's between a lot of different things as well. The one I'm deciding to go with, because I just loved the entire album again, so I guess it's not as rare as I thought it was, is The Color and the Shape by the Foo Fighters, which came out
Cool.
shortly thereafter when I was born. I was born in December of 96. This album came out in May of 97. So this was an album, Doll, Monkey Wrench, Hey Johnny Park was a completely different sounding song for the Foo at that time too. Wind Up was like one of those kind of cool, like, just goes in songs like I was talking about earlier, that like starts and then just really goes in. That's like cool to listen to. They had a bunch of different sounds too. February Stars is a completely different sound. And then one of the best rock anthems that people like on that album, in Everlong. If you just hear that song, no matter who you are, most people start going freaking nuts whenever it starts playing. So like that album was just absolutely killer for me. And that's why I would have to pick that one, because that's another album that the sounds were different in different songs. And Dave Grohl always, obviously learning from one of the best of all time in Kurt Cobain, always knows how to mix up the sounds pretty well. So I thought that was another one that was just absolutely killer for me that I definitely resonate with.
Yeah, I remember when it first came out, because, it was 97 and everybody was kind of like, yeah, he's doing what? But he's been so successful with Foo Fighters, and I'm really excited that he got that. Dave Grohl got another chance to, continue doing what he does well.
Yeah, and they did great this year at the Grammys. They won the Song of the Year. They won the Rock Album of the Year for Medicine at Midnight. The Song of the Year was Waiting on a War, and then the Rock Performance of the Year, I'm pretty sure, was Making a Fire. So they got 3 different Grammys for their new album as well, which is also, for newer albums that came out this year, one of my favorite albums already, because it's a newer sounding album for the Foo Fighters, because they're making it with a different producer for the last couple albums. But I even liked that too, because it sounds different. And like I said, I love how Dave Grohl can mix up the sounds but still have very good sounding music in each album, where some people go in the whole, well, that doesn't sound like the Foo Fighters. Well, I don't really care about that. If it's a good music that your band's making, you're making it. Bands change over time, where I don't really care if it doesn't sound like their old stuff. That's sometimes actually a good thing.
Right, because it shows that they're still interesting. If the band starts playing the same sound all the time, I like that they change things up and make it a little different, because it makes it interesting and fun to listen to. Like, what are they going to do next?
Shows their range, shows their capability of, not always putting out the same, regurgitating the same, sound, the same kind of. I mean, look, when you turn on an AC/DC song or an album, you can pretty much across the board realize it's all going to sound like AC/DC no matter what. Do you know what I mean? But that's one of the reasons why you love AC/DC, because all their songs all kind of jam together.
Yeah, for some bands that forms a perfect mesh. For others, it's cool to have a mix, though, where for the earlier Foo, they did have a lot of songs that formed a perfect mesh that went together between all of their albums. But I like how they mix it up with this new producer for Medicine at Midnight, and some of their other albums like Concrete and Gold, because it makes it sound different, and you get to have some cool like background, like rhythmic sounds in there combined with the normal Foo Fighters sounds. That is really kind of a cool vibe to have with a Foo Fighters song. It's just completely different and not something that's natural to the album I mentioned, The Color and the Shape, and that Foo Fighters era. So it's kind of a cool, different change. But since I pulled a U Steel and went with 2 albums at the same time, I handed over to your counterpart, Ronice, as she can say what her second album is that she wants to mention.
Okay. Well, my second one is going to go back a while. But this was like, I know Gerald may not know what this is, but my birthday present was a Walkman. And then, I was really cool. And...
I actually had one growing up. So yeah.
Oh, good. I was worried. But anyway, the first tape I got was The Police Synchronicity. And to this day, will listen to some of those songs, like King of Pain and Synchronicity 1 and 2 and... I can't remember the name of the Ring song. The Golden Ring song. I can't remember the name of it. All of those songs I still love to this day. And so that's why it's one of my favorites.
Yeah, that came right out of nowhere, that album. Like, nobody'd heard anything like that before when they did that album. Like, not in popular radio anyways. Like, that came out at a time when pop was really the thing at the time. Like it was so far away from what people were listening to, but it was such pure genius, nobody could avoid it.
Yeah. Well,
what an amazing album.
That album I actually do know, and one of the songs, it has one of the most misunderstood songs.
Oh, I know exactly which one you're talking about.
Which is played at weddings a lot, which is called "Every Breath You Take." People
which is about a stalker.
Realize that it's about a stalker. Yeah, they go, "Oh wow, I played that in my wedding." So, like that just goes to show how good of a lyricist you can be when people are like, "Oh, this is a sweet song," and then you find out what it's actually about. And it's kind of like the song that Steele and I talked about on the phone one time, "Run to You" by Bryan Adams, which is a killer jam.
Yeah. I was just gonna say that. Yes.
And then you find out it's about running to his second lover.
Yeah, right. Yeah, you're like, wait a minute.
Okay.
Maybe that's not such a great.
Not such a great song, then.
Still a cool guitar and stuff in the background, just not a great mess.
Yeah, exactly. Like I that's perfect. But yeah,
granted, there's a lot of bands that have good songs that are not good messages. You could just group Every Breath You Take and Run to You in that, because obviously a band that a lot of people think is good, including myself, Rage Against the Machine, has a lot of messages that people wouldn't say are great, but they have really cool sounding music, so it all depends kind of what you like.
Another one of my favorite albums of all time, by the way. But I'm trying to stay out of that genre because there's so many of that in that time.
Really?
Which
one?
Rage Against the Machine.
Oh, okay, yeah.
But which album is the one of your
favorite?
God,
that would be
the original, the original one, the Rage Against the Machine original.
What album would I take? I'd have to really. I love them all.
So is that right in there with like Seven Dust and
No.
Probably you got to go with the one with Killing in the name. That's
Rage Against the Machine.
Rage Against the Machine. That's the original. Yeah, Killing in the Name. That's one of the greatest songs ever.
Bullet in the Head is one there. Know Your Enemy.
Testify.
Okay.
Yeah, that's.
I don't think Testify's on that album.
Anyways, but I'm not gonna go down that because we're gonna talk about our favorite. I wasn't putting that one in there. It was close though.
Yeah, right. Close. But the Police Synchronicity.
Yeah.
Is.
I love all things Sting. I could listen to Sting sing all day long. Talk about that. Voices we didn't mention. I don't think we mentioned Sting.
Even A Christmas Carol with Bing Crosby?
Yeah, I could actually, but I wouldn't be my first choice.
Could, but would you? Yeah.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
David Bowie did something
go
like
ahead,
that too. David Bowie did something like that too.
Oh, everybody, all those people have all done crossovers and music songs and duets and all kinds of crazy stuff. You know, you can always
people
find.
are starting to do that a lot more now because of social media connections and stuff.
Yeah,
You artists cross over genres even more than that happened back in the day, where it was more kind of like unexpected, where you're like, oh my god, they did a song with that, where now you're just like, oh cool, and it ends up being a really good song, but it's a different reaction to it just because it's more common nowadays than it kind of was before.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I mean, definitely more.
Yeah, like my strange, I don't know, I guess I find this strange, but talking about collaborations that are a little odd, I think the Ozzy Osbourne and Post Malone song is a great song, but it's a very strange mix of genres.
But
Have you heard that one?
Post Malone kind of goes through all genres pretty much. Yeah, I have. It's fantastic. Yeah. I love
Post Malone. Take What You Want.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is a really good song. But yeah, Post Malone does kind of have a mix. Like, he has the song Rockstar, which is basically, at least in my opinion, it seems like it's about someone who wants to really be that guy, like a rock star. And it seems like he tries to live in both universes of being like a rap star and a rock, and like kind of have different background sounds of more rock rap music. So like he seems to, and like pop, like sometimes different more pop sounds. So he definitely mixes it all into his music. I think he's kind of like a smorgasbord of a bunch of different sounds, which I think is kind of what Pirlo was getting.
Word of the day, man. Smorgasbord. I like it.
But still, what's your other favorite album, since you would be the next person on the rotation to go with what yours is?
Well, this album here is actually has a bit of a local flavor. What I mean by local flavor is that the leader of this group is from not too far from where I currently reside. He's actually from Mannheim, which is a little bit south and a little bit east of where I live. But I'm talking about the Pretty Hate Machine by 9 Inch Nails.
Ooh.
That's a good one.
Oh, that's an amazing album. Oh my gosh.
Really?
Yeah.
I did not know that.
He's from Mannheim.
Wow.
Yeah, how about that? Trent Reznor's like from Mannheim or something crazy.
That explains a lot, actually.
Yeah, right. So that album right there, the very first song that I heard off of that album was Head Like a Hole. Okay. Yeah. And somebody was like, oh, hey, wait, I know this person that has this album. We should go listen to it. And I was like, all right, let's go check it out, right? So we go listen to this album, and it was like, wow, all right. So every single song down in it, Sanctified, Something I Can Never Have, Kind of I Want To.
Incredible.
Okay. I mean, every single song on this album is like just seriously ultimate good song. I mean, Trent Reznor is a musical genius.
Yeah.
Okay.
Trent Reznor is also someone that Pirlo kind of said about artists that literally go through the like ringer to make their music. Obviously, he's talked about some of the stuff and coming out on the other side in the past in interviews. He's definitely one of those guys that writes about and is very open in his music about stuff that he goes through if you really listen to the lyrics. And I always kind of enjoy people like that because, as Steele knows, those are the guys I love in sports too that are very open about things that they go through because it just helps everybody else. And Reznor definitely fits into that profile.
And, you know, I actually got to see him in concert with David Bowie.
Really?
Wow.
Right. And him and David Bowie came out and did what was the song that David Bowie did with the duet he did? What was it? Paul McCartney, not Paul McCartney, but
not the one with Stevie.
David Bowie and...
Yeah, I can't think of who it was. But anyway, him and Reznor came out. It was one of.
You're not talking about Mick Jagger, are you?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
Whatever song.
Dancing in the Streets.
Okay, so they did that song,
Mm.
right? And then they also did a collaboration of some of the music from Nine Inch Nails.
Okay.
Right, and then because the opening band was Prick, and then Nine Inch Nails came out, and then David Bowie came out and did those two songs with Nine Inch Nails, and then David Bowie played.
Wow.
Yeah.
That was a good concert.
Yeah, that was a good concert, right?
That's incredible.
That's definitely a
wow.
killer show.
But that album, to me, that's an album there that every single song on that album is just rocking, is just banging, is just, it's one of those ones where you do listen to the words and you do pay attention because each song has a story or message or whatever, you know what I mean?
Well, also...
And he did, again, there's another one of those bands that took music and put it into a totally different direction. He took the industrial genre of music and brought it to levels that I don't know if anyone will ever reach. I think they just, I like when it comes to Reznor, he took industrial music to a level that nobody's even going to try to get to.
They won't be able to.
They'll never do it. They'll never be that what he did ever again. There'll be people that have feed off of it and turn it into something else, which they're doing, which is wonderful about music today. But I mean, there was never anything like what Nine Inch Nails did, and there never ever will be. It's pure brilliance, pure genius, absolutely.
Plus, when you get recognized, it wasn't on the album, Steele mentioned, obviously, but when one of your songs ultimately is recognized by one of the best in the business in music of all time, and he literally recorded about a month before he died.
Johnny Cash
in the song Hurt. That's when you know you're doing something right.
Johnny Cash was an enormous...
Johnny Cash recognizes your song and literally...
He didn't just recognize it, he was an enormous Nine Inch Nails fan. One of the biggest fans.
That
Johnny
I did not know. So
he was a huge Nine Inch Nails fan.
Well, the fact that the albums that they've put out and the awards that they've won. Mm-hmm. I mean, look, I almost put them in, I almost put Nine Inch Nails and Tool almost.
I was just gonna say Lateralis by Tool.
Yes.
Never would have happened if it wasn't for Nine Inch Nails.
Okay, perfect. Yes, that's exactly perfect. That's exactly what I was gonna say, Perlo.
That album. I wasn't gonna put it on my list, but when you mentioned Nine Inch Nails, I had to at least mention it. Schism.
You can tell they're definitely an inspiration of Tool. You can sometimes tell when certain bands are definitely inspirations of others, and you can clearly tell that there.
The Grudge and Schism and Parabola.
Oh my God! Look, you can definitely tell that Maynard took a page out of Trent's book of being a lyricist.
Yeah.
Okay, because if you look at the words to the songs of all of Trent's music, he's a lyricist.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? That's why he's such a genius, because he's so good at his music too.
It's everything.
But Maynard is the same way for Tool.
And Perfect Circle.
Well, but I mean, he's the same way. He's that type of lyricist, and then he also has that musical genius and voice and everything else. You know what I mean?
He's incredible.
Tool is on the top list if we ever do a show of groups you still need to see that I've watched enough of on YouTube to know I need to see them but haven't got to. They're definitely on that list. Where unfortunately the Foo Fighters were also on that list, and with Taylor's passing, hopefully they come back, but it won't be the same. So one of the groups I'm very happy I got to see before Dusty passed was ZZ.
Oh, go
like ZZ Top was one of the groups that I was really happy I got to see before Dusty Hill passed, because I got to see. Actually, I'm pretty sure I know I saw them once, but I'm pretty sure I saw them twice actually. But I got to see them with Dusty, where now they honor him when they play. If you watch it on YouTube, they honor him and put like a halo light on his, and the background, the old background bassist plays now, because Dusty basically jokingly threatened with Billy and was like, yeah, you are not ending this band just because I died. So obviously Billy honored that final wish of Dusty, and they did not end the group. But yeah, they're definitely one of the best shows. They put on a great show. And they're both just really chill, cool guys at a concert. So it's a different vibe. Like, I like the shows that get like riled up at times when you have those type of rock shows, but also ZZ Top, it can get like that with some songs, but they also just have a great chill vibe show that also gets the crowd into it in a different way. And people that have been at their shows will know exactly what I'm talking about.
Mm-hmm. You know, that should probably be, I think we should do that, man, as one of our next couple of shows, is the concerts we've been to. Right, I'm sure we've all been to our fair share of concerts.
Well, actually, too. Eliminator, honestly, is probably one of my, if we're going, because I just mentioned ZZ Top, I might as well just say one of the other albums that was in my head, and I'll just roll with that as one of mine since I mentioned ZZ. Eliminator definitely is one of my
That's a good one too.
Albums I like listening to, because got me under pressure. Obviously, Sharp Dressed Man.
Yeah, buddy. That
I Need You Tonight. Dirty Dog is a different style of rock song that I always like when things sound kind of cool to me in a different style. So that was cool. And also that was also an album I got into only in the last few years of my life, even though it's an older album, because I started getting, like, when I went to that concert and stuff, I started getting into more of their overall criteria the last, like, 4 years of my life. But that's an album that now I listen to them and listen to a lot of different albums. But Eliminator is the one that I would listen to the whole thing and, like, every single part of it, because it has a good beginning with Give Me All Your Lovin', and it has a good finish with Bad Girl. So it's always about a good beginning and finish as well, and that album definitely has it.
That is such a great album, and look, I'm gonna throw a little admitting here things for everybody. This one of the songs that I got married to was Rough Boy from ZZ Top.
Yeah, that was on the list.
Nice.
So I definitely relate to ZZ Top, and
I would say so. I would definitely say so.
Nobody else sounds like them. You know what I mean?
Nobody else sounds like them.
That is a perfect description of it. But now, because with that perfect point, Ronice, you gave 2 albums this far. To Pirlo, did you give 2 or 3 this far?
I think I did 2.
You did 2. Okay, then I'll go to you next. And then we'll go to Steel. Ronice, what is your 3rd album that you wanted to mention on this edition of the Old Genre Music Fest? Also, we should say, everybody, please subscribe as well to get our subscribers going, and spread the love and tell your friends as well.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. One, it's fairly a recent album, but the Perfect Circle, Eat the Elephant.
Oh yeah.
I really love that album, because it's one of the albums that there's a couple songs I'm like, yeah, okay, they're all right, but there's a couple songs on the album that I find I don't know, they're motivating to me, like Eat the Elephant and I can't remember the name. Disillusioned. What's the Buttercup song?
Yeah.
I can't remember the title, I'm sorry. But I find them like encouraging, I guess, because they're all about, get up, keep moving, do it, a step at a time. So
I haven't checked out that album, to tell you the honest truth. I gotta check out that album.
It's
How
a good
did I
one.
not check out that album? That's weird.
It like I said, there's a couple songs on there that are a little iffy, but the Eat the Elephant is like my favorite.
Don't they have Tools? Speaking of Tool, I didn't mean to cut you off or anything. Don't they have Tools? Isn't Maynard in that band? Or wasn't he? At least he still is. He still is too.
Yeah.
And the bassist. Okay. And the bassist.
Eat the Elephant. Okay.
Right.
Yeah. Oh yeah. He did. Well, I mean, their first album was just was almost on the list, but I love their first album. But I have to check that out. I don't know why I haven't. I'm so caught up with so much stuff now that there's so much different types of music now that I often honestly don't even watch it and listen to albums. I'd like to get back into that again.
Because there's so much different stuff to listen to in the music library with between Pandora, iHeart, Spotify, if you have an Apple phone, Apple Music, whatever you want to listen to, there's so much different. Google has their own music app. I forget what it's called, but they have that. Amazon. So like between all that, there's just so much to listen to. Yeah, you don't always get into, but I do always love, because I also have one of those record players too. Sometimes putting those on as well, sometimes as well. So I still love the beauty of listening to an album, but yeah, it's definitely more of a lost art, and Pirlo's kind of spot on with that nowadays.
Yeah, I agree.
I gotta check that out. I can't believe I haven't listened to that yet. I gotta check that out for sure. I love that band.
There you go. That's cool.
Steel, you would be next, so if you want to roll.
Okay.
Oh no, Pirlo actually would be next. Actually,
Pirlo's
I
next.
can't count. Yeah.
Okay, so I said I was.
Sorry, I'm bad at math.
That's all right.
I was gonna go old, and I've got. Okay, I'm just gonna mention a couple that didn't make it a little bit. Okay, but I really think they should. Iggy Pop, The Idiot, is one.
Yeah.
Houses of the Holy by Led Zeppelin.
Oh yeah, that's a good one.
But that was Houses of the Holy by Led Zeppelin. Yeah, anyways. But I gotta go with, to me, the biggest innovator of to me, this is the greatest, and we've already been talking about him a lot, and that's kind of what tipped me to taking him. The biggest innovator of 3 decades. He totally changed. He totally innovated or mastered what everybody thought they were good at, and that is David Bowie. The Rise and Fall of Ziggy Stardust and the Spiders from Mars.
Oh my gosh. I mean, yeah, all right.
That whole album is just it knocked everybody over the head when it came out. Sometimes he took the genre of the time and he made it even more amazing, like Modern Love and all of that, and, which were great, which was a great album. Songs were incredible on that. China Girl, but with this album, he did something that nobody was doing at the time. And did it in such a way that blended well with what was going on at the time. And it just woke a whole bunch of people up from a whole new generation in 72. He took the hippie movement and said, okay, let's add some art to the hippie movement. That's what I think he did. He took the hippie movement, which was absolutely fantastic. The music of that generation was mind-blowing, but he took it to an artistic level that was beyond what anybody could comprehend. It ain't easy. Lady Stardust, hang on, Suffragette City. I mean, Moon Age Daydream. The whole thing is just blow your mind. I must have listened to this album probably more than any other album I've ever listened to, I would think.
Wow. That actually explains a lot about you, Perlo. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah. But he's my favorite artist of all time.
David Bowie.
So I figure if he is my favorite artist of all time, I should probably have my favorite album of his as my favorite. Actually, it's not my. I don't know. I think his last album before he died might be the best album. I don't know.
Yeah, I heard some of that music, man. That was actually pretty good. I mean,
yeah.
I can't say that David Bowie is somebody that I'm gonna go out to go purchase their albums.
Okay.
You know what I mean? But I know enough of his music, and I can appreciate the type of music that he did and everything like that. And I can also appreciate his type of contribution to the music world. Do you know what I mean?
Rumors was the other one, by the way.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
It was almost Rumors.
That's the beauty of music, though. We all have like some stuff we're all going to jive with, and like some similar stuff. Other stuff we're not all going to like the similar stuff. But that's exactly how the music world is, and it's all about what resonates and connects with each person, basically.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's like I'm not. What was your album there? I'm blanking now. Joe.
For which person?
Joe.
Oh, one of the Foo Fighters albums.
Yes, I'm not the hugest Foo Fighters fan. Doesn't hit my ear right. But I totally appreciate Dave Grohl and him as a drummer and the talent that they have. And their songs on every album that I really do love. And that's what makes them so great.
Yeah.
I think there's people that are going to love every song on their album, but there's most people I know will love, especially Everlong.
Yes. I said, that's a rock anthem. Yeah.
That's a pure genius song. Simple. But
for sure. No, I'm with you on that one though, Perlo, because I'm the same way. Like I can't listen to those types of bands because of that specific reason.
They hit your ear wrong?
Yes, they very much hit my ear wrong. And look, I'm not saying I'm not trying to say anything bad against Foo Fighters or like Green Day.
Absolutely not. I like Green Day actually, but that's
Pirlo and I have had a whole phone conversation about it.
Okay.
I like Green Day, but I get that I appreciate people who can hear something and say it doesn't hit my ear right.
Also,
but still
I feel like
they're brilliant they're brilliant artists.
Yeah.
Exactly, and that's all we're trying to do here. Like, there's a bunch of people that don't always hit your ear right. But you're always going to appreciate if the type of music they put out, unless if they give you a reason not to, and there's not many people out there that give you a reason not to. So
there was one that I wanted to say, and I've tried with all my heart to have it hit my ear right because all of them are incredible artists, and you mentioned it last time. And I actually have listened to it a lot to try to have it touch me because they're such great artists, and that's Iron Maiden. I don't know why. I can't.
Yeah, they're a hit or miss with me too.
Okay.
I've absolutely tried because they're so brilliant They're such
great.
Brilliant artists.
Yeah, like some of their stuff sounds cool, but it's like something that like it's kind of like you're saying. Like I try to get into it fully, and like it's something I could probably go to their concerts because people say they put on a good show and enjoy their concert or something, but it's not something like on the regular at home I'm necessarily jamming to.
Well, let me say this. Their concerts, they are one of the few bands. Like Metallica's one, AC/DC's one, Megadeth's another one. And those guys, they sound like their albums do.
Oh, for sure. I've listened to them live like crazy.
That's what I mean. They actually sound like, because how many times have you listened to an album and then you go see them live and you're like, wait a minute, are you sure that's the right
there's a lot of people like
which is especially impressive for them because of Dickens, what he has to do with his voice. That's really impressive for them.
I've seen Iron Maiden twice, and I can honestly tell you that Steve Harris is probably the best bassist that I've ever been able to stand next to.
No doubt about it. No doubt about it. He's incredible.
And Bruce Dickinson has the voice.
Yeah. One of the best voices of all time.
I mean, I would put him in that same genre of like Jeff Tate from Queensryche. You know what I mean? He has that range and everything. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
Right? Yeah. But it's exactly right. Iron Maiden is that group where either you are gonna really love them or it's not gonna hit you.
Yeah, they're the one that pissed me off so much that you're gonna say every single artist, their art form, Jason Dickinson, like individually they are top class, amazing. And I still, there's
you're like,
so
some people, right?
Like for example, like somebody that I think, and I really appreciate his music, and if I'm like in a chill vibe mood, I might listen to him. But like, I never fully got into James Taylor, but I think he's a great singer. And
I'm with you on that too.
I get that.
It's just I've never fully got into.
I love James Taylor, but I can totally understand why people wouldn't totally get it.
Yeah, I can understand that. For sure. James Taylor, classic. I mean, you know,
I can understand why, because I associate James Taylor with 70s soft rock, and it's, I enjoy it, but I can understand why other people don't.
Right. Well, no, I enjoy soft rock, actually. It's just like,
something about him.
Different soft rock music is just a hit or miss for me. Yeah, it's kind of just something. Like, I like certain songs by James Taylor, but the overall library, like, I wouldn't say I like enough to say I like James Taylor.
Oh, I see. He stole me over time, actually, James Taylor. He's not a guy that I first went, you know.
Well,
like
maybe
you
the
said,
same will happen for me, but we'll see.
Yeah, he stole me over time.
Oh,
anyways,
man.
I'm thinking that for our next one, because this was all rock, we should be forced to take every other genre but rock albums that we like.
Okay. Because
well, that's the next time, because we won't do our next one. No. Another album one, but that's the next time we do album. I agree, but also, I didn't get to give a other one yet, and then Steel, and then we can give one more, and then we'll go quick through it, and then we'll wrap up, and that'll be the end of the second edition of.
Okay, that sounds good.
Music Fest, but since I'm between 17 different things in my head right now, Steel, you can go next.
Okay. Sure. No pressure or nothing. And, you know, look, I'm having a hard time picking which one is my favorite because I have so very many that I like. But and what I mean by that is one of my favorite groups is Megadeth, and most of their albums are all one of my favorite types of or one of my.
Now, have you seen them?
3 times.
Oh, nice. And then how are they live compared to?
Like they sound very much. Mustaine sounds very much like he does on the albums. Their music is very much in tune. I mean, I can sing right along with them I know almost all of theirs anyway. But my third album, and this is not exactly new, but not exactly old.
In the middle?
Yeah, there you go. In the middle. I mean,
Dystopia?
No. Okay, look, I love Dystopia. That was a great album. I'm going to go with Bob Seger, Night Moves.
Oh, you didn't go Megadeth. Okay, you didn't go Megadeth. You went Bob Seger.
I was honestly waiting for Megadeth.
Yeah.
Right. I really thought about it.
Wow.
Yeah, I was thinking you were going Megadeth. I was thrown off by that too. But I'll still let you know. The PPL Center is hosting Megadeth on May 15th. So just
I know.
FYI.
I know.
Right. Are you going to
that? No, we're gonna wait and go to the show with Five Finger Death Punch and Who and Lamb of God.
Got you.
Right, and that's in like September.
September 24th at the Hershey Stadium, not the arena, but the stadium.
At the stadium.
Yeah,
okay. All right, there you go. So, We'll be going to that show. But yeah, Bob Seger, Night Moves. Every single song on this album is, I mean, goes without saying, some of the best music that's ever been put out into the world.
Yeah, it was a cool album. I forgot about that album actually.
All of Bob Seger's music just hits different in a good way, and I mean that like that's an expression that you kind of say to mean a positive more time than not. But like it hits you differently, where it's like his voice cuts through in some other ones, or take more of a step back, but it'll cut you in a different way. Like it's like he has one of those unique voices that I'm sure Steele you probably tend to agree with that.
Yeah, he definitely has like that, like that Little Richard kind of unique voice.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like there's never going to be another Bob Seger.
Yeah, I agree.
You know what I mean? There's never going to be another Little Richard.
Inspired by all of Little Richard and Bob Seger. There's many that are inspired by them, and everybody we mentioned. But there's never going to be somebody that's the same as all of them.
Exactly. This album right here, though, I mean, number one, there were, I believe, 6 number one hits off of this album.
Ship of Fools, Rock and Roll Never Forgets, Fire Down Below.
Yeah.
Okay.
Night Moves.
Right.
It's a great song.
Right. So
Night Moves,
this album went platinum 6 times.
Yeah, that's a bonkers musical statistic.
Okay, so, but exactly with what you said, Sunspot, Main Street, Come to Papa, Ship of, I mean, every song is just, I mean, it's just on point. And to me, this epitomizes of all the favorite albums that I could have selected that I've listened to, that I have to say, because this one resonates with me on so many other different levels, but the music, the voice, and this whole album just, I would say this would be my third album, would be Night Moves from Bob Seger.
That was a surprise.
Technically, it's your 4th album because we both mentioned 2 albums in one swoop in one of our
yeah, right. Answers. So technically I have 4, but okay, but I mean, Sunspot Baby is just a great song. The Fire Down Below. I mean, I can hear all these songs in my head as I'm reading them off. You know what I mean? And I can't wait to like get off this show, because I'm gonna probably rattle off a couple of these songs.
Oh yeah. I'll probably listen to a lot of the stuff I mentioned too, but I'll let it go to Pirlo this time, and you can give your last album to wrap up this edition of some of our favorite rock albums of all time, where the next time we either do all other genres or maybe we're focused it. Otherwise, we might start mentioning just specifically soul or specifically something again. But this has been our favorite rock albums of all time. Please continue to hit that sub and like button to get the channel growing here on YouTube and on Spotify as well. But Pirlo, go ahead.
I just don't think I could go without saying. I think most of the albums I've been taking have been ones that have revolutionized, a generation in a lot of ways. And I don't think any one album has revolutionized and actually took a generation to levels that OK Computer by Radiohead has taken.
Oh, that's a good one too. I forgot about that one.
Karma Police, Fitter Happy.
That's one of my good friends from grade school's favorite songs of all time, Karma Police.
No Surprises. Yeah, No Surprises. I mean, it's one of those albums. You know what? I don't know if you've listened. Have you listened to much Radiohead, Steele?
No, not so much, but Ronice is.
I'd have some Radiohead knowledge,
yeah,
not a lot. But...
not a lot. I mean, it wasn't really.
I think they're the Pink Floyd of this previous generation. I think
of like the later '90s, into the early 2000s.
I can see that.
They like just about every band that say they were influenced by just the way Pink Floyd influenced everybody. I think that Pink Floyd was going to be one of my albums. We just took it. So, but
sorry, you can have it. I mean, seriously.
Radiohead also had a pretty good newer.
I like everything they've done. Yeah.
I think it was pronounced Kid Amnesia. I think is how that was pronounced, but that was a pretty good album.
There isn't a single album or song of Radiohead I don't like. That you don't say that too often. The absolute genius, pure genius, and
that's.
I would have to say that I have to put them out there. I have to.
Yeah, they are a good group. I mean, they deserve a lot of praise for their artistic lyricism, I should say, and the fact of like the cool sounds they have in the background as well. So I definitely agree and echo what you said on them. But Ronice, so what would be your final album to mention on the night?
My final would have to be that's really hard. I think I'm gonna have to do Shinedown's first album because it just actually, you know what? I'm gonna change it slightly. I'm gonna go with an oldie. But how about Sgt.
Yeah.
Oh, Sgt. Pepper. We didn't even say the Beatles.
Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Band, just because of the influence the Beatles have had on all of music, and I love that album, and it's just I don't know. That's just one of my favorites.
That's a killer. Yeah, that's one of the best rock albums, probably on rock albums of all time list. Go ahead, Pirla.
Oh no, it's just I can't believe we just came to the end to say something by the Beatles. Sgt. Pepper's.
It's probably because it's cliche. We all try not to be cliche. We all picked a lot of unique albums on here.
Yeah, I think that's what we're trying to do.
Definitely would have been more cliche, but you kind of have to be cliche sometimes when it's that freaking good, and that's definitely what.
White Album or Sgt. Pepper's or whatever. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Either one,
I mean, any of the Beatles albums are good, but that's my favorite out of all of their albums. So
yeah, I love that album.
Yeah,
I was actually surprised that they were not selected sooner.
I think it was because we were trying to avoid being generic.
That's what I was
but see, like Ronice, like we have the the Beatles One collection.
Oh yeah.
Right, the box set. You know what I mean? So like, so the Beatles are listened to a lot here in the Steele household. Occasionally, you know what I mean? And so, but I was actually surprised that this wasn't mentioned sooner.
Well, that's because we were all kind of...
No, but yeah, like that's what I'm saying. Yeah. That's what Perla was saying.
Cool. That's what we all mentioned all these different unique in the rock genre artists and albums from artists that not everybody would still think about. They would, certain people would, but not the whole masses would still think about to this day, I think is a good way to put it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like trying, and it's also because it's hard, like choosing one Beatles album. It's like trying to choose one Stones album, you know.
or you know, or like, one. Sorry. I mean, all these bands that we've talked about are all bands that have all released multiple albums, have been around for multiple years, have all produced a rather lengthy library of music.
Some of them, yeah.
I mean, you can pretty much...
one that hasn't.
Right. But for the most part, most of all the people that we've mentioned, you can all pretty much just pick and choose from a rather nice-sized list of music that they've produced and done. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Correct. Where to wrap us up here, I think we'll see a thing here about an artist that Pirlo and I both agree is one of the better singers and just songwriters of all time, since I'm picking his other band's album. So I'll go back to Chris Cornell and go with Audio Slave's first album, which was called Audio Slave, which had Coach Eyes, Show Me How to Live, Gasoline, Like a Stone, Set It Off. That was in the early 2000s.
Yeah,
so, that was an absolute killer album for me. Similar to what I said about his great album with Soundgarden, Super Unknown. I just loved how that album hit you differently. And Chris Cornell was somebody I followed his entire career. So when him and same with Chester. So when him and both of them died in the same basically calendar year, a few months apart, that was hard for me. But it's always good to have the music, like they say, the music carries you on. And with him, it's a perfect example. And same with Bennington, because they were both very good artists and writers. So.
Yeah, we might have to do like a show on Linkin Park, or part of a show on Linkin Park, because
I'm obsessed with Linkin Park also.
I love them, so I'm sorry.
Linkin Park.
Yeah, you're not very familiar with them.
I'm very familiar.
Limp Bizkit, right?
You're thinking of somebody else, yeah.
No,
Linkin Park. Limp Bizkit is completely different. Linkin Park's Chester Bennington, Mike Shinoda, who is Fort Minor. Who's also with Fort Minor, who's that more rap rock, different style of group. They're also a fairly decent group with the song "Remember the Name," but that's a different story for a different time. But yeah, like that's Linkin Park.
No doubt.
Chester Bennington. I was one of the few. Honestly, again, it's one of those bands that doesn't hit my ear right, but it's basically because the pop punk genre has never been something that. Maybe it's because I was came up through punk when it just wasn't that, and but his voice is insane. And of all the pop punk genre bands, for sure, that would be my favorite.
Yeah.
No doubt about it. Yeah, he would be my favorite. But yeah, there's so many I could go on. We got to finish this up.
Yeah, but we probably should wrap it up because we went really long on this episode as we gave our favorite rock albums of all time. Let me know if I missed one, but we went by 10 by Pearl Jam, The Gareg by The Who, Super Unknown by Soundgarden, The Dark Side of the Moon, and Wish You Were Here by Pink Floyd, Colors by Beck, The Color and the Shape by Foo Fighters, and Medicine at Midnight by the Foo Fighters, Synchronicity by The Police, Rage Against the Machine, because we mentioned that one, the original album by Rage Against the Machine, Pretty Hate Machine by Nine Inch Nails, Lateralis, since we ended up mentioning that as well, by Tool, Eliminator by ZZ Top, Eat the Elephant by A Perfect Circle, The Rise and Fall of Ziggy Stardust and the Spiders from Mars by David Bowie, Night Moves by Seeger, and then last but not least, Audio Slave, the first album of their group by Audio Slave.
Yeah.
Could you imagine going to iHeartRadio right now and checking out our podcast, right? And then after you do that, you go to iHeartRadio and type in all the songs and all the albums that we just listened to, or we just
right now it will be Spotify because we're not on iHeartRadio yet. But yeah, they can do that.
All right. Well, so if you go to Spotify, right, and you type in all the music that we listen to.
Well,
especially if you haven't heard it before.
Oh, go ahead.
Give it a shot.
Exactly, especially if you haven't heard it before. Give it a shot. I mean, we wouldn't have said that these were our favorite albums if we didn't think that they, weren't worth mentioning. And most of all the bands that we even mentioned too are all relatively, either Grammy award-winning bands or have won awards or stuff like that. You know what I mean?
Or have somebody that's known as one of the just dudes of rock in their band. So we definitely mentioned a lot of cool stuff here, but I think we should about wrap it up. This has been the second edition of the All Genre Music Fest, as we covered some of our favorite rock albums of all time. You can never list them all. You'll be here to next Christmas or beyond, but we thank you all for joining us for Steel Flyers, For Pure Wisdom, for Ronice, I am Pro Joe. Have a great, safe, pleasant day, everybody. Please continue to subscribe down below to keep the channel going and growing. We really appreciate your love and support. Enjoy the music that you decide to listen to, because that's what's great about music. It's all about the perspective and stuff you love to listen to. Peace out, everybody, and stay safe.